Hiya, friends, and welcome to the That's a Thing podcast, episode 0.03. My name is Kevin Brown, also known as Railith on the internet. If there's a Railith on the internet, it's probably me, except unless you're there's some gaming channel from Latin America that's Railith that has a picture of Master Chief on it, and that's probably not me. Now, if you were to say if I was, I don't know, maybe in high school, when around Halo 2 time, then it might have been more apt because I really liked Halo. I really liked Halo 2 around Halo 3. I think that should have been the end of Master Chief and his journey. The Halo books are pretty good. That's actually going to probably be a podcast in the future. But you may be wondering, where's Drew? Or that guy who sounds apparently just like me? That I can't hear it. I think he sounds different. But anyway, the reason for that is I got sick on Saturday. And Saturday is usually the day I plan to record these. So I didn't want to have nothing to put up as a podcast because these are easy and they only take about 15 minutes. So what I want to have happen here is we do a podcast about getting sick. Because there's some getting sick. It can be interesting, not like real deal sick, like hospital sick. That's always bad. But the kind of sick I'm talking about is the sort of sick where you're basically in bed for a day or two, and you might throw up or have a fever. It's enough to get you out of school or work, but not enough to get you in the hospital. That's the illness we're talking about here. That kind of, I have a cold region of sickness. That's what we're looking for. So with me personally, it was a fun adventure where I was just minding my own business, watching all of Beast Wars, because that's something I decided I want to do. Mainly for the fact that I remembered that all of my Beast Wars figures are gone. They've been gone for a while, and I should have known better, but it's one of those things where my mom moved houses years ago, and it just didn't connect to my brain that when she moved houses, then probably all of my toys were gone because I didn't take them. I thought they'd be safe there. Apparently I was mistaken, so all of my Beast Wars figures are gone. They may be in the hands of some lucky child or unlucky nerd who's bought them from someone. God, listen. My depth charge is gone. He's my boy. He's all surly and a fish. Well, he's a Manta Ray, but I miss it. I think I also had a Transmetal 2 Cheetor. That was the one I remember having the longest because I brought it in for a class in college to talk about we had to do something like bring some objects about yourself. And I was like, here's the Transmetal 2 Cheetor. I think he's rad. And no one else thought he was rad. But I really do like Transmetal 2 Cheetor because he has an attitude to him. I like that. I like my Transformer to be surly. I like a surly Transformer. But anyway, so I was watching Beast Wars as I've, reasons I've already explained. And I started feeling a little queasy in my tummy. And I was like, man, this isn't good. And then it got worse and worse, and I decided to go to bed at the prompt time of 2 a.m. when all of a sudden I really needed to throw up. So I threw up. And this would be the precursor of how my night would go, because I basically threw up every 2 hours, and I did not sleep very well. Although I did discover a cool trick. So if you're ever sleeping and you feel really cold, one of the secrets you can do is put on socks. I don't know why, but it really helped. It made me feel a lot warmer just by wearing socks underneath the covers. This is probably a minor update, but it was revolutionary and an amazing idea when I was sick. And then the next Saturday, I was basically in bed all day. I drank a Gatorade, and that was my meal. And that's why there's no podcast, because I was in bed drinking a Gatorade, and just drifting in and out of consciousness. And that's kind of how most of my normal illnesses go. Is I get really sick in the evening or at night, and then the next day I'm really groggy, and about like a day or two later, it's fine. And that's how it goes. And what happened was a lot of it was just me kind of like half sleeping, half awake, trying to get comfortable, getting into like cramps. Like I get backaches and stuff whenever I get sick because I'm in bed so much, but I don't have any like energy to move, which is not too much fun. Um, Really, this is an excuse for me to talk about one of the things I like when I get sick is whenever it's weird, but it's the day after you're really sick, but before the day you get like well. It's the day where like you're just coming out of it. So like you wake up in the morning, and I think almost everyone listening to this has probably had an experience like this, where like you've had a fever and you're really sick. But then the next day you kind of have a fever, which is enough to keep you home from school. But like you're still well enough where you can like watch TV, and you're like, man, this is rules because I can like watch all the crappy midday TV shows and not have to go to school because I hate going to school. And I really have a weird nostalgia for that kind of feeling and that kind of time of the day. Like when you'd be watching like Price is Right because you got to stay home from school because you're sick, but you're not like deathly ill, and that's always good. There was a time when I was deathly ill. That's the sickest I've ever been, and probably the most horrified I've ever been because it was when I was in college and I was doing like student teaching observation because I used to do education stuff. I don't anymore, mainly because I'm lazy, and you have to be really on top of things to be in the education. You can't just be a lazy slob like me, let me tell you, because man, I am lazy. That's why I'm doing this podcast. I'm just putting it on YouTube. Like if I was really motivated, I'd probably care more. But I don't. See, that's my brand. It's not caring and kind of rambling on. But anyway, I was doing an observation of a class. I think it was like a first grade class, and it was all well and good. But I forgot the fact that first grade children, if you don't know, you're not in the know, are disease-ridden monsters carrying some kind of horror flu plague, and I got infected with it, and I was basically bedridden for 2 days straight. And I was like, had a serious fever. I had to have my dad come over and like sort of take care of me, like bring me drinks and stuff, because I honestly couldn't leave the house. And I was literally going in and out of consciousness. And why it's horrifying, because the last video game in media I was working on before all of this happened was a very friendly game called Dead Space. So in my quasi lucid state, it was me on board the USS Ishimura, and I was trapped there for 2 days in my own mind, and it was one of the most scary things that's ever been happened to me because I was like, if you haven't played Dead Space, you should play Dead Space. It's quite a good game. One of my favorites. I think it's one of the last EA games. Like it was like Dead Space and not BioShock, Mass Effect, and you're like, man, EA, you might be able to make a good video game. You're really turning the corner. And then they said, no, we're not. And you kind of sighed and you moved on. But man, Dead Space and Dead Space 2, both those games are great. But yeah, I was there forever, and it was really spooky, and I didn't like it. And that's really about it. I can remember that it was mostly like what was it? It was mostly based around like plants instead of pure necromorph body parts, which makes sort of more sense if you think about it. because why would like the necromorph like marker only affect like sentient tissue? Wouldn't it affect like dust and like microbes and like plants? Because like to me, it's just making anything that dies that gets touched by the marker turns into a necromorph. So you'd think that like you'd be covered in like dead like bacteria that are just eating you constantly, and then like I mean, because that's really how much biomass you're going to need to make an evil moon. Yeah, spoilers for Dead Space. It gets real dumb. Like Dead Space 3 is stupid. We're just gonna like Dead Space 3 is dumb. Don't play it. Just you should look what happens in it because it's stupid. But just don't. No Dead Space 3. I'm going to clip right here and get a drink of water. Okay, we're recording again. I had a slight issue. Maybe I'll edit this out. uh, no, no. But I think it is good for sometimes to get like a mild illness. Not anything major, because it does allow me to remember the good things of life. Like, being able to eat food and drink water. I the simple things, and it's kind of a reset to my system. I do think it's somewhat depressing that in my life the closest I think I get to like breaks and vacations is getting sick, because that's the time when I feel like I don't have like the pressure to work, because I'm like, well, I'm sick, so I don't have to do anything for a day. I don't have to worry about it, and that's cool. But it's depressing in its own unique way. And that's about it. I don't have much more to go on in this. I'd say if you are sick and you're listening to this, you have big problems. I hope you get well, because at least you don't have to worry about it. If you are sick, find a TV with The Price is Right, or if you don't have a TV, like go on YouTube and Google The Price is Right, because that's part of the cure. That's how you do it. That's the anti-necromorph signal. Like if you broadcast the marker is broadcasting like illness and necromorph juices, but if the way to counter it is if you need to broadcast The Price is Right, because that is proven to be like the cure to diseases, and I think it all work out all right. We could neutralize it and have a happy time and not be turned into a corpse moon for reasons. So until next time, internet, don't get turned into a corpse moon.